Well, it's been another horrific week in the onslaught against women and children. Karabo Mokoena was laid to rest on Friday, while toddler Courtney Pieters was laid to rest today in Cape Town. In the Eastern Cape, police arrested a man for allegedly dismembering the body of his girlfriend. In neighbouring KwaZulu-Natal, a 17-year-old Tongaat teenager was found killed with a bush knife, and the body of a 9-year-old boy was discovered in a Lenasia veld in Soweto. Now, the outrage is spilling into boardrooms and onto the South African streets, and men have said enough is enough. They turned out in their numbers to march against women and child abuse. Now, joining us in studio is Dumisani Rimbobo, the Community Education and Mobilization Manager at Tongaat Gender Justice, a South African NGO that strives to prevent domestic and sexual violence, reduce the spread and impact of HIV and AIDS, and promote gender equality and human rights. A very good afternoon to you, Dumisani, and welcome.
Good afternoon.
I could see from my peripheral as I'm reading and recounting the stories of the number of deaths that we've seen in recent weeks. I could just see you cringing. It's heart-wrenching.
Yeah. First of all, let me say on behalf of our forefathers, on behalf of all other men out there and myself, so we are so sorry to the women in our society. With the types of killings and rapes that have been going on, I believe, for centuries now. And it's time, yes, that we all say enough is enough. And I'd like the viewers to understand even the issue around the hashtag men are trash, to say, of course, we're not talking to individuals here. I think this is a collective anger at what is happening to our women. Women are expressing that, and I hope that that collective anger would help us to arrive at collective action so we can stop the scourge of violence for women and children.
Dumisani, it's femicide at an incredibly alarming rate. But of course, this is not a new issue. It's not something that's just sped up recently. But I think what's been shocking is the number of reported cases that have come forward and, you know, have obviously received the media attention. What would you say have been some of the causes, you know, that have resulted or that have led to such a scourge?
Look, I think there's various reasons. Some of them we don't know. All we know that this is the monster. I think the root cause is patriarchy. We need to dismantle patriarchy as men and women in South Africa. I think this is not the time to point fingers at who hasn't done what. It's what can you and I do now? Let's respond to this. This is fire on our society.
And how do we start to pick up those pieces and make sure that the engagements are had, the awareness campaigns are continuously being done? How do we just pick up from this point on and move forward and trying to ensure that we create a safer society for our women and children?
I think one is having programs on the ground. Obviously looking at policy, the judicial services, government as a duty bearer, you know, have a duty, need to be accountable to ensure the safety of its citizens, want to see more visible policing out there. But yes, I think, you know, I'm interested to see the response that is gathering momentum now. This coming Friday, civil society, it's marching, will be marching from, you know, the Johannesburg University in Soweto, going to Regina Mundi. The march that is happening today in Pretoria, men standing up and saying, yes, enough is enough. But going back to your question, beyond the march, what then? Because that's what we need to be focusing on. Which programs do we have? Organizations such as ourselves and other civil society organizations, we out there in the communities. How do we ensure that these programs that work with boys and men and young girls and women, of course, you know, are strengthened and they happen everywhere in the country? We can't just be in these pockets. We can't have programs that are not coordinated well. So I think it's about doing something every day.
A lot has been said around the socialization of you know, the difference in how boys and girls are socialized in a society. Women are, for the most part, taught to be respected. Conversations are had with girls on how to look after themselves, how to stay safe. But when it comes to how boys are socialized, it's slightly different. Take us back into the home environment. What needs to be done within the home environment to ensure that boys know that certain actions are not allowed to be done to women?
Yeah, look, fortunately, we are in a global space today. Research is telling us which programs are promising, are working to stop gender-based violence. And for me is to say, let's work on those. Some of these programs talk to that issue. How do we socialize our boys and girls at homes? It's time that we don't say, oh, look, you know, we just blame apartheid. We just blame, you know, our forefathers and mothers. But it's time to say, as parents, whether as single parent, you stand up and talk to your boy child, your girl child equally. So that socialization, yes, could lead into, you know, issues that would haunt us later on in the years. If this boy is told to be the hunter, the provider, the future provider, what if he cannot provide? What happens to him? So would he even respect the girl next to him? So we need to start at home, I agree. Churches, they have a serious role to play. We can't have churches just talking about politics and not talking about home issues, for instance, or issues that, you know, are just insane in our society in terms of how women are treated in this country.
And how do we continue to encourage women and children who have been abused, who are being abused, to come forward and report these cases and speak about them in order to perhaps maybe just stop the victim-blaming narrative that we've seen?
Yeah, we need that also. And I do think that, yes, of course, we need to be careful that we don't, you know, have secondary victimization of those women who have the courage to stand up and speak. We know that 1 out of 9 women report these cases, so this situation is dire. So indeed, we need to ensure that, you know, there's spaces at the police station where, you know, women are afforded privacy to be able to, you know, report these cases well, and cases are followed up well. Police do investigations well, so that, you know, these cases should see the light in the courts.
In the work that you do, have you found that abusive behavior can be altered, that an individual can be rehabilitated in their abusive nature towards women?
Of course, it's hard to know for sure, definitely, if behavioral change can be sustained over time, but we do have men who have changed a long time ago, and yes, I think it is possible, but it's important that those men are speaking up, because the more men are silent, I think that silence speaks volumes, because it says, hey, you're becoming just like the abusive man. It's no use of the men to be saying, no, I don't abuse. Why are you, you know, sweeping everybody with the same broom? No, no, I'm not this and that. But it's time to say, let's see men speaking up.
Hence the hashtag, men are trash.
Yeah, let's stand up and understand the anger around that. Let that make us take action.
All right, thank you very much. That is our guest speaking to us about, you know, just the murders and rapes that have been taking place, affecting the country on such a large scale. Dumisani Rembombo coming to us from the Sonke Gender Justice.